welcome back to Movie Review Mom. And I'm the mom and I review the movies. And if this is the very first time you've come to my channel, welcome. I'm so glad you found me. I hope you like what you see. I hope you stay and I hope you subscribe. And be sure and ring that little bell and it'll notify you every time I upload new movie reviews or trailer reactions, which is almost every single day, because so many movies have been coming out lately, which I love. All right, let's get down to business. Today, the movie I'm reviewing is Tom and Jerry, the movie, 2021 version. It's a major commotion picture. It's available in select theaters on February 26th and on HBO Max, in case you subscribe to that. It's rated PG. It's an hour and 41 minutes. And the movie review mom grade I'm giving it is a B minus. And I'll explain why. I will first give an overview in a nutshell, and then I'll point out things I liked and didn't like. Then I'll give you some tips for parents because this is a family-friendly movie and themes worth talking about with your family if you see it with your family. And then we'll finish up with a few movie recommendations for other movies that I think that you will like as well, or maybe even better than this one. All right, so let's get started. In a nutshell, I've always loved movies that combine live action with animation. In fact, one of my sons is a 3D animation artist. So I especially love the craft of animation. I appreciate it more now that that's his profession. I'm so proud of him. But anyway, this is a family-friendly movie, and it might be the first introduction to some children of the beloved characters Tom and Jerry, the Hanna-Barbera cat and mouse characters. Fans of the legendary cartoon characters complained about the voices in the 1992 version of the Tom and Jerry movie. And so they decided that in this movie, the characters would not speak at all. And they don't. You do, however, hear some howling and screams and screeches and, sound effects that are coming out of them. And the cool thing is that those sounds are actually from the archive recordings that William Hanna did in the original sound effects for the cartoons. So that's kind of cool. This movie is directed by Tim Story and written by Kevin Costello, based on the characters created by William Hanna and Joseph Barbera clear back in 1940. That's how old these cartoon characters are. So if you're already a fan of Tom and Jerry, you'll enjoy this movie just purely out of nostalgia. You'll feel like a kid again. But I don't know that it's going to create any new fans from kids who are watching it for the first time. I was actually never a fan of Tom and Jerry cartoons, so this movie kind of felt like a big meh. I wasn't super excited and looking forward to it, and again, it was just kind of like meh, but I did still find plenty that I liked about it. So let me tell you about those. First of all, when the movie starts off, you get a bird's eye view of New York City in the opening credits of the movie and in quite a few additional scenes in the film. So I always love it when New York City is actually one of the characters in a movie, and you definitely get a flavor of the Big Apple in this movie. And so I love that. The next big character of the movie is Chloe Grace Moretz. And I actually love her in everything that she does. I've never seen her play a character quite like this before. Usually she's kind of tough and edgy, but she shows a softer side in this children's flick. But a heads up for parents, she's dishonest and not necessarily a character you want your children to emulate. However, she does learn a few lessons along the way. You can actually check out my movie review of her most recent movie, which is called Shadow in the Cloud. Another heads up for parents, though, that movie is definitely not a kid-friendly movie, but it's more classic Chloe Grace Moretz, I think, and she actually does a really good job. I'm always super impressed with how comfortable Michael Pena is in rated R action movies and equally in PG-13 or family-friendly movies. like the Ant-Man movies, for example. He does great in every genre. I always get a kick out of seeing him. Unfortunately, the role that he plays in this movie isn't fantastic. It doesn't really allow him to shine as much as other movies, but he's still very good and always a pleasure to watch. Colin Jost from Saturday Night Live stars as a wealthy groom who is marrying the lovely Pallavi Sharda at the ritzy Royal Gate Hotel. I love that some of the supporting cast from the cartoons are also included in this movie, such as Alley Cat Butch, voiced by Nikki Jam, Toodles, Spike, voiced by Bobby Cannavale, and the Bully Bulldog. They all show up in this movie. So it's a very respectful nod to the cartoon franchise, which I always appreciate. Funny Man Ken Jeong is always good for a few laughs, but he's not actually in enough scenes in this movie to really save the movie and make it just hilarious. When he's on the screen, you're expecting to laugh, and so you do, but there's hit and miss humor in the rest of the movie. I'm amazed at how many movies have been produced at home by the crew during this worldwide pandemic. And this is one of them. It kind of shows a little bit, but still, I mean, they pumped out a movie during a pandemic. That's super impressive. There's a fun soundtrack in the movie that energizes many of the scenes. And one thing that I thought was really fun about the animation is that it is very energetic, and all of the animals and creatures in the movie are animated. So I got a kick out of the fish market scene where all of the fish are animated, of course. And then even the cute little wedding butterflies that fly around are animated. And creatures from very small mice, obviously, to creatures very big, like elephants in the movie. And then finally, there's this completely random character who works at the hotel who supposedly was raised by wolves. So it's just kind of a totally random thing that kind of made me laugh and smirk at the same time. Now, there were some things that I didn't like about the movie. First of all, the 2D animation is very simplistic and true to its origins. That's a good thing. And I understand wanting to keep Tom and Jerry's original look. But I also felt like kids nowadays sort of have more sophisticated expectations for the quality of animation. We're so spoiled by Pixar and DreamWorks. And so they might be wondering why these characters look so flat and old fashioned. So, as a parent, or if you're watching it with young kids, point out that that's how all cartoons used to be, and that this is a respectful ode to that 2D animation. I kind of felt like the movie was two films meshed together, and partly that's because of the very different look of animation and live action scenes. When Tom and Jerry were seen together, it kind of looked and even felt like they just took some of the old footage from former episodes and then just sort of pieced them together in a more modern movie. And the modern look with Chloe Grace Moretz just look clean and crisp and colorful. And the scenes with just Tom and Jerry and some of their shenanigans just didn't look like it matched at all. The framing can also be problematic depending on what size screen that you watch the movie on. You might be missing the tops of people's heads. And I thought that that was kind of weird as well. As soon as you walk into the hotel and you're given a tour and you see this really fancy glass ceiling and you're told that it's a one of a kind, you know instantly it's going to be destroyed in the movie, right? So in that regard, there are a lot of shenanigans and destruction moments that are completely predictable. The plot itself is pretty predictable. You don't necessarily know what's going to happen from scene to scene, but you know how the story is going to end. And so it's pretty formulaic. Some of the editing also isn't very smooth, which kind of surprised me. But again, they made this movie for the most part from home. So I guess we can't be super picky, right? Now, let me give you some tips for parents. Again, kids who are unfamiliar with Tom and Jerry won't necessarily understand the long feud between the two characters. They might be confused why sometimes Tom and Jerry are super friendly and seem like best friends, and then they're fighting the next. So I suppose as a parent, use that as an opportunity to point out how they act with their siblings. If they have siblings, sometimes they love their sibling and sometimes they fight with their sibling. And so you can kind of make that comparison and talk about how much more pleasant it is when they are getting along. There's a lot of cartoon violence, smoking, and even alcohol, which has actually caused this movie to be banned in some countries, that it doesn't seem like a children's movie because there is behavior and substances that are inappropriate for children to watch, and maybe out of the fear that they will then think that it's okay and try to emulate that type of behavior. There's also talk of PETA, which kids won't understand what that is. There's an animated goldfish that speaks in like a little, thought bubble with a poop emoji. There's also some inappropriate images for kids, like when the mouse is at a Xerox machine making images. And then ultimately, parents are going to be really bored, I think, unless they've watched these cartoons when they themselves were kids. And then it sort of takes them back to their childhood. There are also plenty of themes that are worth pointing out to your children if you watch this with them, such as friendship, responsibility, second chances, listening to each other, love, and kindness. So now, every time I watch movies, I write down funny lines, inspiring lines, and I share them on my written review at moviereviewmom.com. So if you haven't been to my website, you can run over there and check that out as well. I also have contests every month, so maybe you'll win a prize. So I'll share just a couple of them with you right now. There's a moment where Colin Jost's character is talking about his pet cat, and he says, "Oh, I'm sorry, he's a little animated." And I was like, "Ba-dum-bumch," right? Because the cat is animated, but I just thought it was kind of funny. There's a little jab at millennials because Chloe Grace Moretz is a millennial. And so Terrence, played by Michael Pena, kind of looks down at her and he says, "You're one of those millennials who think they can get whatever they want, whenever they want, preferably with free shipping." And I just kind of smirked. And then Chloe Grace Moretz's character says, "Who doesn't love free shipping?" I thought that was kind of funny. And then here's an interesting line and really a good theme that you can drive home with your kids when they watch this movie. And that is, again, Chloe Grace Moretz's character says, "If Tom and Jerry can work together out there, then so can we," as she's trying to rally all of the employees of the hotel after this terrible disaster has just happened. So there you go. All right. So the recommendation that I have for you that I actually enjoyed more than this movie is the recent Sonic the Hedgehog. I know that there was a lot of debate about how to design a movie version of the video game Sonic the Hedgehog. And I think ultimately what they came up with was really good. I thought the movie was really funny. It made me laugh out loud. And as an adult who has never played the video games, I was completely entertained. You can watch my movie review of that film here on my YouTube channel. And by the way, a sequel to Sonic the Hedgehog comes out next April 2022. So cross our fingers, hope that that's good. All right, that is my review for today. I hope if you watch this movie that you really do enjoy it and have some good family time. Thanks for subscribing and spending some time with me. And thank you for supporting me over at Patreon. All right, until the next movie review, bye for now.